Welcome back to another episode of Out There JCH. I'm your host, Jonathan C. Hall. Today's episode is part 2 of my epic fishing trip to Lake Michigan for my dad's 80th birthday. In this video, I'm teaching myself how to process our catch. I'm not a skilled fishmonger by any means, but I learned a lot and had fun getting these fish broken down for the freezer. Let's kick things off with our first catch of the day, the Coho Salmon. Thanks for watching. An absolutely gorgeous fish, just look at that color. But hold up, how did we get here? Let's rewind things a bit and show you how I gut fish to get them to this stage. I start every fish gutting the same way, by inserting my knife in the anal opening and making a shallow cut all the way across the belly, sternum, and to the base of the head. The next step is to open up the fish's cavity by separating at the collars and severing the base of the gills at the bottom of the throat from the rest of the head. On this big fish, it took a little bit of work cutting things out and cutting things around, but we got there in the end. Once you've got things opened up, you want to pinch the gills at the base of the spine and pull everything out and down, like this. And everything should slide right on out, nice and easy. Okay, once everything is out of the fish's cavity, you don't want to just throw this away. Here you can see me saving the livers of the fish, even though I didn't eat them, but fish livers are generally a really good source of nutrients. And certainly, if your fish has roe inside, you're going to want to keep those. There's lots of delicious things you can do with fish roe. So despite using the Ikejime method, there was still a lot of blood left in this fish's cavity. You're not going to want to skip this step when you're gutting your fish, so make sure that you're cleaning out all of the congealed blood that usually sits along the spine of the fish to keep the flesh as fresh as possible. So I mentioned before that lake trout are pretty fatty fish, and I like the fact that they have lots of fat layers in between the muscle, but they also have this layer of visceral fat that I didn't really know what to do with, so I ended up throwing it away. But let me know if you have any ideas about how to use fish fat, because I don't like to waste things. Alright, nice and clean. Let's get back to the coho. While my dad taught me about catching, scaling, and gutting fish, I never learned much about filleting them. Growing up, we ate a lot of our catch whole. So most of what I learned about fish prep comes from watching Outdoor Chef Life on YouTube. Taku is a former sushi chef turned full-time creator, and he and his partner Jocelyn make, in my opinion, the best catch and cook content on YouTube. Another part of the fish that people often throw away are the collars and the head. I'll come back to why you want to save these, but just for now, please don't throw these parts of the fish away. Keep them. They're really delicious. So this first fillet job was a bit of a struggle. My knife wasn't as sharp as it could have been, and as you can see here, I'm doing a lot of stopping and looking because it was a bit of a challenge finding the bones to cut along to make clean cuts. So I'm making several more cuts than I need to, but I eventually got there, and not too shabby for my first fillet job. So lake trout are one of my favorite fishes now that I've had a chance to catch them and break them down. They're also incredibly slimy. So I had to use a lot of towels to remove the slime and have a good working surface to prepare the fish. So the first one that you saw was one of the smaller fish, and then here is the monster, as I said in part one. It ended up being about 30 inches long and weighing, I estimate, maybe about 12 pounds. So some notes on the Ikejime method. And I guess the first question might be, did it make a difference? I think for the fish, it absolutely makes a difference. Look, we are pulling these fish out of their environment with the intent to kill and eat them. That's an inescapable reality, other than avoiding eating fish altogether, but that's not something that I'm interested in doing. So given the fact that we are going to do these animals harm, take their lives, and consume their bodies, I think it's important to go through that process of doing harm as quickly and as respectfully as possible. And so the Ikejime method makes a big difference for the fish that you're going to consume because it ends their lives quickly and as painlessly as possible. Now, does the Ikejime method make a difference in terms of the quality of the fish that you are harvesting, which is a big selling point for a lot of people, having a fresher, more delicious catch? I didn't notice a visual difference between the fish that we threw in the cooler to suffocate to death and the other fish that we used the Ikejime method on. The flesh looked the same. There wasn't more bruising or blood retention in the flesh of the non-Ikejime fish compared to the other ones that we used the method on. A few weeks later, Kwesi's family and my family shared a meal in which we ate an Ikejime lake trout and the one that we threw in the cooler to suffocate to death. It wasn't a scientific experiment, but both Kwesi and I claimed that we could taste the difference between the two types of fish. But the rest of our family didn't notice a difference. All in all, the freshness claims of the Ikejime method were not something that I tested or could have tested in this fishing trip. We harvested the fish and I broke them down within 36 hours of catching them. And so when you take that kind of care with your fish, whether you use the Ikejime method or not, you're gonna have a pretty fresh and delicious catch. But if you don't have the time to process your fish relatively soon after you catch them, then I think the Ikejime method is the way that you're gonna wanna go. And even if the Ikejime method doesn't make a difference in terms of the taste of the fish, I think it's the right thing to do when you harvest fish to consume them. One of the things that I wish I had done more growing up and even since becoming an adult and fishing and processing fish on my own was keeping the collars and the heads. There's so much flavor and meat and deliciousness that's in there. So if you're going through this process, please save the heads, save the collars. You can do so much with these parts of the fish. And it's a shame to see them go to waste. But yeah, this is the final product. This gorgeous meat. And you can see the layers of fat in between the layers of muscle. And it looks a lot like salmon. But there's a more distinct kind of orange color between the lake trout and the king salmon, which tend to be more reddish. But these fish were absolutely delicious. Some of the best fish that I've ever had in my life. All right, so if you don't have a vacuum sealer in your kitchen, you need to get one. It is one of the most important kitchen tools that you can have, especially if you're doing a lot of wild harvesting. I use a Nesco vacuum sealer. I really like this brand because you get a tight seal, you have durable bags, and both of those things are essential for preventing freezer burn. Freezer burn fish is one of the worst things in existence. So pick one up. Whew, that was a lot of work. Thanks for tuning in. Drop a comment below and let me know if you've used the Ikejime method or if you plan to. Also, let me know how you like to process your fish. Stay tuned for more fishing adventures on this channel, and I'll see you next time.